In the fall of 1942, the director of the American Federal Bureau of Investigation, J. Edgar Hoover, delivered a message to the people of America.
I want to talk to you fighting men and women about the Battle of the United States. You may wonder what I mean by this. You may wonder why what I'm about to tell you has not been told in detail before. The Battle of the United States took place in every community in the nation. It was a struggle against enemy agents who had been sent to this country to disrupt our industries, destroy our morale, and damage the impact of our fighting armies.
One of the most remarkable episodes in this secret war began at 8 p.m. on the evening of the 12th of June, 1942, as a German submarine, U-202, slipped silently towards the fog-shrouded coast of Long Island, 100 miles north of New York City. U-202 had a very special cargo which had landed at 11 p.m. that night. It consisted of 4 saboteurs who had come to blow up America. 2 years earlier, in 1940, America was still at peace. The New York World's Fair was in its second year. The Brooklyn Dodgers had a great baseball team. In the wheat states, there was a bumper crop. Conscripts in the new draft army were allowed to wear their own clothes on weekend leave. The economy was booming. But over all this hung the threat of war with Germany and Japan. In June 1940, the conquering German army had paraded through Paris. France, once thought to be the strongest military power in Europe, had been defeated in a campaign which had lasted barely 6 weeks. The British Expeditionary Force in France had been bundled back across the English Channel. Adolf Hitler stood in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. On the Channel coast, the commander of the Luftwaffe, Hermann Goering, launched the essential preliminary step towards the invasion of southern England, the destruction of the Royal Air Force. July 1940 saw the opening blows in the Battle of Britain. Goering and his Luftwaffe commanders were supremely confident. They had already destroyed the Polish and French air forces. The British would surely crumble. But it was the previously all-conquering Luftwaffe which was the first to flinch. Guided to their targets by radar, the RAF's fighters mauled the German bomber streams. Victory over the Luftwaffe was secured by the narrowest of margins. The invasion was postponed and then cancelled. Hitler now turned to the bombing of London and Britain's ports and industrial cities. The Blitz had begun. The German bombers ripped the heart out of London's East End. They levelled the centre of Coventry and many other cities. But they failed to destroy British war industry, and they failed to destroy civilian morale. At the beginning of June 1940, Britain's darkest hour, President Franklin D. Roosevelt had offered words of encouragement to the British people.
On this 10th day of June, 1940, in this university, founded by the first great American teacher of democracy, we send forth our prayers and our hopes to those beyond the seas who are maintaining with magnificent valor their battle for freedom.
By the time Roosevelt met Britain's Prime Minister Winston Churchill in Newfoundland in August 1941, he had secured the British vital war supplies from America with the passage of the Lend-Lease Act. With every day that passed, the United States was drawn inexorably towards war. When it came, the aggressor was Japan. On the 7th of December 1941, Japanese carrier-borne aircraft attacked the naval base at Pearl Harbor.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
The first victims of the war in mainland America were the 100,000 residents of the western coast who were of Japanese origin. Of these, 75,000 had been born in the United States. They suffered an exile to internment camps scattered from the California desert to Arkansas. The US government's fear that a substantial number of them were spies proved an illusion. The overwhelming majority were loyal Americans. Now that the United States was in the war, its population was warned about the danger of enemy spies and saboteurs. Most Americans discounted this threat, but it was real enough. Within 48 hours of Pearl Harbor, Germany and Italy had declared war on the United States. It was perhaps the greatest of Adolf Hitler's strategic mistakes, a decision which sealed Germany's fate. Unlike Admiral Yamamoto, the commander of the Japanese Combined Fleet, who knew America well and had warned against war, Hitler fatally underestimated the ability of American industry to smoothly switch its almost limitless peacetime capacity to the waging of war. In America, the war was to produce a colossal surge as the economy emerged